Hi everybody, my name is Bethany Turner and I love to write romantic comedies that are full of pop culture and swoon-worthy romance and great heroes and great kisses and flawed characters and a happily ever after always, but maybe you don't exactly know how we're going to get to that happily ever after. And that's never been more true than it is with my current release, Plot Twist. Plot Twist is the story of Olivia Ross, and she has a chance encounter with a stranger in a coffee house, and then the trajectory of her life is changed forever. And it's all building up towards the date 10 years from the day of this run-in, where she plans to meet this stranger back in this same coffee house. A stranger whose name she never got. She doesn't know anything about him, but everything has changed. So we check in with Olivia one day each year as she's building towards this reunion that may or may not happen. So we're going to start, this excerpt is actually from 1 year after the run-in. So this is February 4th, 2004, and Olivia is dating a guy named Liam at this point. Liam is someone you'll get to know quite well in this book. And they find themselves at this same coffee house. This is not something she planned on. It is not something that she was thinking about until they just ended up there, and she recognizes that she's been there before. So we're going to pick up there for this excerpt. "Are you in love with this guy?" Liam asked minutes later as he sipped his Americano. "No, of course not. What I just told you, that is literally the extent of the story. That's it, in its entirety." He smiled. "And yet, here we are, having coffee. Here, today, exactly 1 year later." "Yes, and I told you how weird that was, but this was your pick." "Oh, I know. I wasn't saying you orchestrated it." He placed his hand on top of mine. "I'm just saying it's pretty ironic. Don't you think so?" It's like... No, I stifled my inner Alanis Morissette, knowing he wouldn't get it. But then he surprised me by continuing. "It's maybe even a little bit too ironic, Olivia. Yeah, the more I think about it, I really do think." I looked up at him, and he was smiling a provocative smile. He knew what he was saying. He knew he was treading on sacred Alanis ground. I even suspected Liam Howard knew he was being funny. I stared at him in wonderment, in awe of the way his eyes twinkled when they were full of humor. I'd never seen that before, and I knew that was probably a good thing. I wasn't accustomed to the strange little flutters and convulsions that were occurring in my chest, and I didn't know if I liked them or not. An Olivia Ross romantic relationship tended to fit within some very unstated but undisputed guidelines. Fiona led with her heart while I led with my head. That had probably always been the case, but as I got older, the desire for sensible and practical was cemented. I'd never drooled over wedding dresses or practiced signing my name as Mrs. Imaginary Husband. It wasn't that I didn't want love, and not that I didn't appreciate romance. I did. But I needed love and romance to fit into the life I had chosen to live. Like the way a great scarf can make an outfit you love even better, but you can't go out dressed in just the scarf. So, though I may not have understood the way I felt as I looked at Liam in that moment, and I absolutely could not understand why my heart was beating faster than it had been a few seconds prior, there was one thing I understood perfectly. Something had shifted. I leaned over and kissed him a little more passionately than I normally would in public, simply because I couldn't stand not to. "What was that for?" he asked, not at all displeased. "Oh, don't you know? A well-timed, properly used Alanis Morissette reference is the equivalent of a love potion for all Gen Xers." He blushed. "Is that right?" "Absolutely," I nodded in earnest. "Well, in that case..." He set his coffee down and jumped up. And then in the middle of a coffee house in Culver City, California, dressed in his pinstripe suit, Liam Howard Esquire began belting out the ironies of it raining on your wedding day, paying and then being offered something for free, and refusing to take good advice. I giggled uncontrollably as he made his way through the entire chorus of ironic. I was also tempted to bury my head as he drew the attention of every single customer and employee. But I couldn't take my eyes off of him. When he was finally done, ending with a very Alanis-like "it figures," everyone in the coffee house applauded. Liam took a bow before sitting back down and calmly taking another sip of his coffee as if none of it had happened, as if he hadn't just changed the rules, as if he hadn't just changed everything. That is plot twist. I can't wait for you guys to meet Olivia and Liam. Thanks so much for listening.